Hello and welcome back to Fat and Sassy Cooking, or welcome if you're new. If you are new, hello and welcome. My name is Nikki and I'm so glad to have you here. Today I have for you all another What's for Dinner with quick and easy meals as always. So this week was a little bit different because we ended up being in the hayfield this week. So I'll explain that later on in the video, but it's a short What's for Dinner. I only did 2 meals this week. Usually I have 3 or 4, but this week it just ended up being 2, and I do apologize for that. But enough rambling on. Let's go ahead and hop right on into this What's for Dinner. Tonight I'm doing meatball subs, and I'm just using these frozen meatballs, the home style. I've never tried the Italian. I always just get the home style. And I'm using some ragu sauce flavored with meat. And I've got a crock pot liner because the sauce is really bad to burn around the edges. So I'm using a crock pot liner, and I'm going to cook them on low because if you cook them on high, the sauce will cook away and you'll burn them. Done it before. So cooking them on low tonight and going to use a crock pot liner. And I just used half a bag because we don't need a whole bag. So that is what half a bag of those meatballs look like. I went ahead and used a whole jar of sauce because it will thicken up and sort of go away. So I like to have plenty of sauce with my meatballs. So I just went ahead and used the whole jar, and it is a, 45-ounce jar, and the meatballs is a half an ounce bag of meatballs. No, it's a 32-ounce bag of meatballs. My bad. Tonight I'm doing chicken gravy and rice, and I have 2 frozen chicken breasts. They do not have to be frozen. Mine were just already in the freezer. And I'm going to be using 2 packs of this chicken gravy mix, a can of cream of chicken. It's supposed to be half a cup of chicken broth, but I had 3/4 of a cup in the box, so I just went ahead and poured it all in here. And some black pepper. I'm not using salt because this gravy mix is very salty, so I just figured I would leave the salt out. And I'm just going to cook it on high for 4 hours, and then I'm going to check it, and it may need 2 more hours. It says cook it for 4 to 6 hours and to cook it longer if your chicken is frozen. But I've never had a problem with using frozen chicken. It usually takes about the same time. So in 4 hours, I'm going to check it, and we will know if it needs to cook longer or not. I got some green beans out of my garden that I'm going to cook with this chicken and rice. So I'm just going to break these beans, and they were supposed to be stringless, but they're not. So I'm just going to go ahead and break these up, and I'll show you how I cook them. Now I've just put some water in the pot, pretty much covered them with water, and now I'm just going to turn on the stove and bring the green beans to a boil and let them boil for a few minutes and then dump those off. And this is just pretty much washing them to get all the dirt and everything off of them, and then we'll actually start cooking them. I don't know if you can tell or not, but that is like dirt and stuff that has came off of the beans. The water is pretty nasty. But I'm going to go ahead and drain these off and rinse them, and then we're going to start cooking them. Now that I've got them rinsed off in some clean water, I'm going to add in a tablespoon of butter, and that right there, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but that's where someone's buttered a piece of toast and there's breadcrumbs on that butter, but that's all right. And I'm going to add some salt, probably about a tablespoon of salt. I'm not really exactly sure how much to do because I have fewer beans than usual. If you've noticed that that's not a lot of green beans, let me tell you a funny story. So we had green beans growing in our garden, and our cows got out and they ate the green beans. So what green beans they didn't eat is right here. I picked them and it was just that many, so I thought, you know, I can try to cook these. We might get enough to feed us, and I'm thinking there is enough for 2 people, and that's my green bean story this year, because those crazy cows got out and decided to eat them. They ate my corn too, but it's okay, you know, things happen. I'm just going to let these boil. I'm going to keep an eye on them, and I'm just going to cook them. I'm not sure exactly how long it'll take, probably an hour, hour and a half, to make sure they're nice and tender. So as I mentioned before, things are a little different in this What's for Dinner. Actually, the only thing that's different is that there's 2 meals, but I started this chicken and gravy in the crock pot the day we were going to the hayfield. I started it that morning or afternoon, and I thought we can eat this when we get back. Well, it ended up being 10 o'clock at night when we got back, so we did not eat that, and we had it for leftovers the next day. And when we were in the hayfield, we just had a bag of chips and a drink from the gas station. That's what we had for dinner that night. But we are having the chicken and gravy the next day, so that's why this is only a 2 meal What's for Dinner, because I film on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday usually, and then upload on Friday. But Wednesdays when we were in the hayfield, and then we ended up having the leftovers on Thursday, and then you'll be seeing this on Friday. So I know I just made that a whole lot more complicated than it needed to be, but that's what. This is the next day, and I've got my chicken out of the fridge. I put it in a pot, and I tried to shred it, but it's too cold and stiff, so once it warms up a little bit, I'll shred it some more. And I mentioned earlier that I was going to cook it for 4 to 6 hours. I wasn't sure which one, but I checked it at the 4-hour mark and it was not done. So I cooked it for 6 hours and had someone come turn it off for me since I was in the hayfield. And 6 hours is what it needed on high. But I also added 2 more cups of chicken broth just to make sure that it didn't get thick and burn. So that's what that's looking like. And here are my green beans. They took about an hour and a half to get tender, and now I'm just going to cook down the juice on them.